Audio? Okay, here we go. Hello to those of you who were already here. Switch that to live. This is probably going to be half an hour, maybe, as I am supposed to be on mod duty in Josh's stream over on Twitch. And also, since I have Josh's old pro gamer PC tower now, uh, I can I can actually stream on Twitch, stream games, which I'm going to start doing. So just be on the lookout for that. I will post them under the posts or notifications under the posts section on the channel. So just occasionally check here under the posts section. Last night I did a test version and I messed it up, so I deleted the VOD of that on Twitch. So don't go looking for it because it doesn't exist anymore. Because the audio ended up being horrible since the OBS on Josh's old gamer PC tower is I forgot to deactivate all the very specific settings he had that were specially tuned to his high quality something multi-$100 pro gamer mic because all I have is like the regular Blue Yeti mic I bought way back in 2015. So I have to go undo those settings and set it to function for like a normal person, for a amateur, or a as the title was way back in the early 2010s, a filthy casual. But this is Josh over here, Green JL on Twitch. If you want to go and follow him, he is a pro gamer, so he actually does gaming stuff all the time, whereas I previously didn't, but now I will be now that I'm capable of it. But he's doing Monster Hunter at the moment, so go follow him. I am Max Ogier. I'm under the exact same name on literally every website. Sometimes there's an AK in front of it, the abbreviation for Alaska, but on Twitch, it's also just Max Ogier, just like here on YouTube. I think I'll try again tomorrow night or Thursday night, and I'll put up a post in on the channel post thing like a few hours beforehand. But I'm not sure. Tuesday and Friday will remain the regular YouTube global happening streams, though. Let's go over to bookmarks. Okay, so that should have given people enough time to show up or not. Maybe. All right, both of those are synced. And while we give people another couple minutes, the statistical review of world energy 2026 is finally out. It got released late this year. Normally it does the middle of June. This time it wasn't until today. But good news for the world as a whole. Our total emissions continue to level off. So CO2 plus equivalent emissions at the highest point, they were climbing by about 0.8 gigatons per year. And they are now almost flattened out, a bit above 40. So last year, over the course of 2025, so this does not include the great energy disruptions that happened during the first half of this year and that are technically still happening to an extent. But over the course of last year, 2025, we only went up by 0.3 from 40.7 up to a flat 41 gigatons or billion tons of CO2 plus equivalent emissions released. And this year probably will actually end up with a decently lower emissions level back down in the 30s because of how much stuff was disrupted due to all of the Persian Gulf happenings and other places. And also, it's already become noticeable the effects of that, plus the Russia stuff, with so much stuff shutting down there as well. As normally, each year, the total CO2 ppm in the atmosphere, parts per million, each year at any point of the year has typically been a little bit above 2 ppm higher than it was the previous year. But the numbers for the last couple months have each only been 1.5 ppm higher than they were at the same time last year. So the massive energy dent, both in supply and thus expenditure, and thus emissions resulting from that that are not happening, is actually being tangibly visible. But even outside of that, over the case of last year, we continue to level out in total emissions, and looks like we're probably leveling off right around 41. Might creep just a bit above that for another couple of years before total yearly amount is going to start going down overall. So that is very good news. Now, also, should be just about time to start. Let's see. We get anybody else? Nobody who's alive. We do have more people, though. Okay. So we'll start off in the Persian Gulf, where the war restarted over the weekend, and then, to the surprise of hopefully no one who watches this channel at least, right before 5:59 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, which is when the futures market portion of the stock market, the commodity trading, at Sunday night at 5:59 p.m. Eastern is when it reopens. Just before that, at like 5:45, suddenly everything stopped, and the U.S. and Iran both announced publicly that the ceasefire is back in session. So, totally nothing going on here. You draw some eyeballs poking off to the side there. Totally nothing going on here. No attempts at market manipulation, although the market's become very, very stupid and has not actually responded to the fact that the supply situation has not really changed. Still sitting down there under $70 per barrel now, even though the supply situation has not really changed. It was up to about 30 vessels in and out of the strait per day until it restarted over the weekend, at which it dropped to zero. And over the course of the last 24 hours, from about sunset yesterday until right about now, only a handful of ships have dared cross it after things restarted on the weekend. I think the total number has been in the single digits. It was like 5, maybe 7. So this is not Iran saying that the strait is closed again. This time, this is just the shipping companies themselves going into a full exclamation point alert mode. And since they saw that the peace deal is only half real, most of them are just refusing to even go in or out at the moment again, and are going to wait around for at least a few days, it looks like, to see what happens, or probably wait through this coming weekend to see whether things restart and then stop again over the course of yet another weekend. So the physical situation has, again, not really changed at all, but the market is still acting as if it has, and is treating uh, oil as if it's in a supply glut, pricing it back down to $70 per barrel. Trump is attempting to do full what he and other Republicans would normally uh, call communist dictator market manipulation or brute forcing market prices, as he threatened the oil and gas companies yesterday that if they don't brute force the national price of gasoline from 330 back down to 250, he's going to punish them, whatever in particular he means by that this time. So he wants them to just uh, tank the cost and do whatever he says so that his approval ratings look better since he's under 30%, which it's been really difficult for presidents to actually go below 30%, but he has pulled it off. And then we have all the Russia-Ukraine stuff going on. So since last time, there were two new big refinery strikes. One here in Krasnodar, and one up here far, far away in Yaroslavl. We can get some of the nice, fun imagery from those. We scroll down to it. Here's one from a few miles away. You can see the big volcanic eruption looking smoke billow. Random Russians posting on TikTok and whatever Russia's social media thing is, Telegram, complaining about there being no gasoline in the gas stations and having to pay double the price for it that they did just a month ago. Here's another one burning. I think that's the Yaroslavl one, but you can see the scale of these. They are gone this time. So this is going to continue worsening on Russia's end. There you go. There's another volcanic eruption looking plume from this one's the Krasnodar one. Here's the view from space for, I think, the Krasnodar one. And yeah, this was as of June 28th. Almost every region in Russia was impacted now by gasoline and diesel shortages. Diesel shortages have now also begun, which is going to cascade into a whole bunch of other issues. But the only regions that were not reporting anything when this was put out were one of the Altais, Komi, Nenets, Yakutia or Sakha Jewish Autonomous Oblast, Kamchatka, Magadan, and Chukotka. However, they, as of this morning, had all joined in, and now the shortages are actually everywhere. And the black market has started, and many black marketeers came up with new ways of doing things. So the gas stations in Russia have banned filling up jerry cans. So instead, what they have been doing is dudes have been cutting stuff out in the back and making like a fake gas funnel that instead of to the gas tank goes into various setups of cans, and they just have a dude like hide in the back and refill them all, and then they go and sell them for like triple or quadruple the price of which is already double the price that it used to be. Okay, there's the one I used for the thumbnail. Another angle. There's a lot more of the Krasnodar one because a lot more people live there. Yaroslavl is kind of in the middle of nowhere, so not that many people really live near that one. This is The Volgograd factory that manufactured, uh, this was this the electronics one or the ballistic missile one? Ballistic missiles, okay. The electronics one was in Voronezh. So this was the remaining primary ballistic missile and components factory. That is what remains of it. There was some of the stuff as the war restarted with Iran over the weekend, some of the initial strikes. There's more from the Yaroslavl refinery. I'll talk about the Iraq dude in a second. All right, where's the Voronezh one? Okay, yeah, this is the Voronezh factory, which manufactured the electronics components for computer systems used by different vehicles and systems of the Russian military. And you can see the two main big facilities here with decent extensive damage and huge chunks of the roof caved in. And then a thinner building over here with chunks of the roof caving in and burned up and everything across like the whole width of it. So the burning Russia train is not slowing down in the slightest bit. This is a bridge along the land route to Crimea, which is what Russia has been primarily having to rely on to get supplies of all kinds down to the peninsula. That is uh, I don't think that bridge was, no, it wasn't in Zaporizhia. I think that was near the Zaporizhia Donetsk borders that was there. So we're starting to hit those. They already took out one of the bridges going from the mainland of occupied Ukraine over to the peninsula. The ferries spoke of previously, those are gone. The fuel depots across the peninsula are gone. So gasoline and diesel sales have been banned across the peninsula to the public. They're only for use for military and emergency vehicles. And also now blackouts are becoming a frequent off and on thing as various power plants and most recently overnight three different electricity substations were hit across the peninsula. So the outflow of people fleeing over to mainland Russia is continuing. Not on super mass, but like a few thousand a day or so, like 2 or 3 thousand. Uh, but that is out of like I think 2.1 million people on the peninsula. So it will still, if people continue fleeing at that rate, it will still be a few weeks before it like goes below 2 million, unless the rate suddenly picks up. So the only real way Russia has to get things there is the overland route, which is constantly getting vehicles along are constantly getting attacked by drones at 30 plus being taken out per day, which is also resulting in a lower willingness, put a W for willingness, of truck drivers to actually risk doing the route there and back. And they've been starting to ask for more and more money, which Moscow is paying because it doesn't really have a choice. The only other thing it could resort to would be to start using the Kerch Bridge down there for major supplying stuff. However, they don't want to do that because then that immediately legitimizes it as a target, and they know that's what Ukraine is waiting for right now. And it looks like that was all of the stuff, I think. Did we get anybody else? Uh, which one are you referring to? I mean, the U.S.-Iran war at this point, yeah, that's just market manipulation. Right. Oh yeah, the Iraq stuff. So the current president of Iraq is sort of uh doing a gradual initial Saddam for himself. So he had a whole bunch of stuff go on over the weekend where we scroll down here, further down here. We'll get to it eventually. So yeah, he's he was sending out the military and stuff. I don't know why that tank's driving with the turret pointed around, but I guess to avoid hitting stuff as it goes. But yeah, he started sending them out and has started arresting the opposing politicians or politicians from opposing parties. So looks like he's maybe decided to go full Saddam, I guess. So 20 years to replace the Taliban with the Taliban, and it looks like it's going to end up being maybe 23 years, 24 years to replace Saddam Hussein with Saddam Hussein. Although, oh, sorry, this is Ali al Zaidi will be the new Saddam if this is not a one-time thing and he keeps going down this road. And regarding Israel's part on regarding Lebanon as they're part of the supposed peace deal with Iran, uh, they had pulled back by about a third, insisted they're not leaving in reality, but they've agreed to, on paper, as of a day ago, pull back by another like 15 to 20% or so, supposedly. We're going to have to wait to see if they actually do it, but they have supposedly agreed to do such. As even those most staunchly supportive of Israel in the US, politicians wise, they're starting to actually turn on Israel because most of the US public has started to turn on Israel, and those at home don't want to lose their seats in Congress if they keep doing the whole, awkward, there's a gun to my head off screen stuff where I don't know if you saw uh, like a couple of years ago, there were a whole bunch of random interviews around like the 4th of July on one particular day where they were talking all the different politicians, Republican and Democrat and stuff, were doing their fake speeches to try to talk about how super patriotic they are, and they kept saying similar things in the vein of, and one of them just read the script apparently, just straight up uh, said said that I absolutely believe that America is the greatest country in the world after Israel. And so that was like a whole reading the script kind of moment. And that since then, that's started spiraling down the public support for Israel in the US because you kind of made the whole financial puppet strings a little too visible for people's liking, even if in reality any thinking person should have kind of realized that they were always there, especially the fact that APAC isn't even a secret. It is a public thing that exists. And it doesn't take that much money actually to buy politicians in most countries and not even in the US. Like a lot of the bribes to vote a certain way, when things have willingly been disclosed and publicly exposed, that sometimes the bribes have been as little as like $100,000, like not even in the millions. The Like some of them will just take like 100 grand and will just vote for, like, in this case, another $50 billion to the IDF or whatever. So uh, buying politicians, not just in the U.S. but also anywhere for the most part, is disturbingly really cheap. All right. Yeah, getting close to half an hour, and I said that's about how long it would last. I don't think there's anything else. Russia, Ukraine, Iran war, uh, Ali the new Saddam. Other than that, I guess the only other real thing is Mali is continuing to teeter on the edge as the Tuareg separatists have pretty decent control over the north. They're not pushing any farther south because that's not what they want. They want the north, which is the land where they live, Tuareg land. However, the main battles happening now are in the south against the African version of ISIS, which the acronym that they use, I don't know if it's in like in French or in one of the native languages. 'Cause normally, uh, because I would have thought the ISIS acronym at first, it should have been probably something in Arabic, but it was in English. Uh, the acronym that's the African version of ISIS uses is JNIM, J with no vowel in between the J and the N, JNIM, JNIM. So JNIM has been kind of pressing their gains against the Malian military and the Russian mercenary groups that are in there. Uh, they're taking heavy losses, but they don't care because they're jihadists. They're suicidal. Seeing heavy losses does not dissuade them from continuing to press forward. So that is kind of the key to the victories they're achieving, is that the Russian mercenaries and even the Malian military do inflict a decent casualty ratio against them, not the kind of thing you'd see in like Operation Serval when France was there, or when the U.S. bombs like Boko Haram in northern Nigeria. You're not seeing like insane double uh, double digit factor uh, like order of magnitude casualty differences, but you are still seeing stuff like 3 to 1 casualty differences. It's just it does not matter to them because they're they're Jinim, it's African ISIS, it's a suicide cult. So seeing if they're taking a town that's being defended by like 50 dudes and some armored vehicles and stuff, and they see like 200 of their fighters die before they end up fully seizing the town, they don't care. They will just move on to the next town. Now, I don't know any estimates like how many guys they have in Jinim, supposedly. So, in theory, if you ran this out, if Mali has more guys in its military because of the casualty ratios, then inevitably Jinim would run out of guys if they just kept going like this, which is the real reason why, like, for example, ISIS was eventually disposed of pretty thoroughly by the US, Russia, and Turkey, sandwiching it in Syria and northern Iraq, because the three of us just like bombed them to death and they couldn't really do anything about it. So when the casualty ratio is, like 100 to 0, that winds down a number advantage pretty fast. But casualty ratio is not that lopsided in here, but it is still lopsided in Mali and the Russian mercenaries' favor. However, it's not dissuading to Janim because they're suicidal, but no real, like, reliable estimates on how many dudes Janim actually has in its not a military, militia, arsenal, whatever you want to refer to it as. So there's no real, like, I don't know, percentage uploading virus progress bar, so to speak, to be able to measure, like, I don't know, what percent of their numbers have been whittled down from suffering bad casualty ratios. But they're still going because they don't care about death. They're not afraid of death. And also, from their standpoint, they're winning because they are overtaking one patch of ground after another and are gradually encircling the capital. So from their perspective, if they managed to overthrow the Malian government, they took the capital and everything, but only had like a dozen dudes left at the end of it, that would still be a victory from their perspective. Even though said dozen dudes could then just get really easily taken out by anyone on Earth, even, I don't know, Cabo Verde's non-existent military, or you just airdrop the Cabo Verde soccer team in there or something, have them kick them to death. But that's going to be it. I have to get over to Josh's stream to do my unofficial moderator job. Uh, so unless anything else shows up in like the next 30 seconds, then I'm going to cut it off here. And either tomorrow or Thursday night, I will try streaming over on Twitch to play some actual games, mostly old PS2 stuff. For anybody who is going to be around and wants something to watch, like after I'm done streaming right here, Josh is streaming Monster Hunter over on Twitch. And I'm over on Twitch under the same name. I'm going to start occasionally streaming things, maybe. Depends on if I can get the thing working out. Oh, somebody followed me apparently in the last couple hours. All right. I don't see anything else popping up from anyone, so that's where this is going to end. And I will see everyone.